Namaste, hello, and welcome back to another video on Hamsavahini Vajraasthra. I'm Awhona, and today's video is going to be about my TBR for TransGirlAprilReadathon 2023 Readathon. Now, this is a brand new readathon which was created by Kevvie, and it has been co-hosted by Willow, and I will leave a link to the announcement videos in the description box below as well as in the overhead cards above. So do please join me further in this video. Now, TransGirlAprilReadathon Readathon is all about reading books by transgender authors as well as non-binary authors. So Kevvie has given us a very convenient bingo board which features fiction, non-fiction as well as genre fiction, which has been written by trans men authors, trans women authors and non-binary authors. So before I begin, I would like to mention I have all the information written in front of me, so I'll be referring to it from here on so that I do not keep rambling in the video in between, which is a habit of mine. For fiction, a book by a trans woman author, a fiction book by a trans woman author. So for this, I have chosen Ryka Aoki's Light from Uncommon Stars, and this follows the lives of three women. One of whom is a trans girl runaway. The second is a violinist who plays video game music, and she is in search of a seventh pupil who is her final sacrifice to the devil according to the pact. And the third is a retired spaceship captain who has escaped from a calamity which took place light years away, and she's returned to Earth. She's a mother of four, and she started a donut shop, and the lives of these three women intertwine, revealing a wondrous story about identity, music, belonging and hope. So that's the first book that I'll be reading for trans women authored fiction. The second is a fiction book by trans men author. So for this, I have chosen the group book, which is Kacen Callender's Felix Ever After, and this follows a transgender black queer teen who has transitioned and or is transitioning and is on the journey of self-discovery, and he receives a message in between, which is transphobic and reveals his identity, and it creates a havoc in his life and how he goes through it, and he's also trying to fall in love. So it's very interesting, and that will be the book for fiction book by trans men author, and a fiction book by a non-binary author. I'm reading two books for that. The first is Shelley Kacen, She Who Became the Sun, and this follows the lives of this is actually a historical fiction, and it is set during in the Mongol Empire, wherein there's a drought which has stricken the entire empire for the past 4 years, and it is the men who are favored and the men who are told to, or men who are preferred as survivors than women. Women are usually killed because there's nothing much that women can do. So it's about these two children, a brother and a sister, and there is a seer who tells the brother has great heights to achieve and the girl has nothing to achieve. However, there is an invasion which takes place in their drought-stricken village, and the boy is killed, and the girl steals his identity and registers herself as a monk in the monastery. The monastery is also destroyed by another invasion by the Mongol invaders, and then things take up from there, and she realizes that she can do anything to survive, and she takes on her brother's identity as well as her brother's fate. So this is what this book is all about. There are three other books which are graphic novels, or let's say mangas, and these. My apologies, that was all my books toppling over. So I do have a manga series which is for fiction Transmen authors, and this is Keito Gaku's Boys Run the Riot, and this follows the story of a transgender teen who identifies himself as male and has problems and is rejected by his high school teachers as well as high school mates, and he befriends a newly transferred cisgender male and opens up his gender dysfunction to him, which is very well understood by the cisgender friend that he has now, whose name is, I believe, Jin. And Jin and Rio, the name of the trans teen whom I'm talking about is Rio. And Rio and Jin form a deep friendship, and they open a fashion brand called Boys Run the Riot. And it is all about the journey which Rio makes in order to accept that he's a transgender and that he becomes or transitions or starts accepting himself as a trans man. So that is a series. So that will be the books that I'll be reading for fiction for trans men, trans women, as well as non-binary authors. Now, coming around to the genre fiction, the first book that I've chosen by a trans women author is Bishakh Shom's Apsara Engine, which is a graphic novel. I absolutely love the illustrations, and this is a story about how queer as well as trans South Asian individuals come together, and they not only survive, but they change the entire face of the community as well through their achievements and establishments, and the story takes up from there. It is futuristic and contemporary. And the second book that I've chosen is not the second book, sorry. The second book which I'm reading for trans men author is by Aiden Thomas, Cemetry Boys. Now, I don't know much about this book, and I had been putting off reading this book for quite some time, but I found this a perfect opportunity. And this follows a boy who descends from a line of those who can summon ghosts or who are known as brujos, and he unfortunately summons the wrong ghost, and things fire up from there. So that's what the basic plot of this book is all about. And the third book which I've chosen by a non-binary author is a historical science fiction, which was very interesting because it's got the historical element in it as well as the futuristic science element in it as well. And this is Iron Widow by Ziran J. Zhao, and this follows the fact that women pilots were hired in a spaceship to be concubines, and only male pilots were supposed to be warriors. So one of the female pilots, co-pilots, who was supposed to be a concubine who was hired, happens to be an assassin, and she enters into the cockpit and she assassinates the male co-pilots, and she is known as the Iron Widow, and how things take up from there, and how she creates changes so that women have a place in the entire community, in that particular community as well, and what can be established. So those are the three books that I'm reading for genre fiction. Now, coming around to non-fiction, I'm reading two books per set of authors. So the first two books that I'm reading for trans men authors are Self-Made Man by Kevin Thompson, which is basically his autobiography. Kevin Thompson was born a girl, and then he transitioned to a man. And this book is all about his struggles as well as what he faced and how he coped up with the situation. And it's his autobiography. And the second book that I'm reading is by T.J. Borgansky, She, He, and Finding Me. And this is about the struggle of a trans man stuck in a woman's body all his life, and how he comes around in discovering that he is a trans man, and he finally makes the decision and transitions, how he was disappointed in every sphere of his life. Despite being very successful, he was disappointed by everything, and the fact that the community could not accept the fact that he was transgender and he came out as a trans man, and how things took up from there. So this is almost autobiographical, and it's basically the struggle that he faced while he was in a woman's body. And the second set of books that I'm reading by trans women authors. And the first one is A Gift of Goddess Lakshmi by Manobi Bandyopadhyay. Now, this is a common book that I'm reading for People April Readathon as well. And this is about the first transgender college principal who was appointed in one of the colleges here in Kolkata, which is situated in Krishnanagar. And it is a story of how Manobi was originally born a boy, but his father rejected his femininity and he felt stuck and he had to struggle a lot. And then he had to, of course, he did very well academically. And then he finally decided to go through gender alignment and become Manobi, who was the first trans woman to complete education as well as be accepted in the society. And her motive is to educate everybody in the community as well as, we hope, an inspiration so that people can change their attitude and can understand the struggles of transgender people. And the second book that I'm reading is Becoming Eve by Abby Chava-Stein. Now, Abby Chava-Stein was originally a rabbi from a very orthodox community, and it was her decision to transition to a trans woman, and this follows everything that she faced as well as everything that she went through to make this phenomenal transition. And the third set of books that I'm reading for non-binary authors. The first is by George M. Johnson, All Boys Aren't Blue, and this deals this follows the story of, it's not a story, but it's the true experiences of a non-binary queer black individual who has to be accepted by the society. The first struggle that he has is to be accepted in a white-centric society, and then he has to be accepted as a queer, which is another challenge in itself. So this is all about his experiences, and I've already started reading this and I'm absolutely loving it. And the second book that I'm reading is by a non-binary author, Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi, Red Lipstick, The Men in My Life. And this is about Lakshmi's journey in understanding. She was originally born a boy in a very prestigious Brahmin family, and then she realized that she was more attracted to men. And then when she came out as in the fact that she was attracted to men and she would probably marry a man, that was rejected. And her community rejected her, and she went and castrated herself and became non-binary. And from there on, she started following her own path, and the fact that all the men who came in her life, and everything that she had to undergo, and everything that she had to achieve in order to ensure that she can make a difference and she can stand out and lead the life that she wanted to lead. So this is all about her experiences. So those are the few books that I'm reading for non-fiction transgender authors as well as non-binary authors. Now, two books which do not fall under any of the categories for this particular readathon, but I would very much like to read about it because it's somehow related to this particular readathon. Is the first is Tritiya Prakriti, People of the Third Sex by Amara Das Willen, which is all about the third gender who were very much existent during the Vedic times. So in the Vedic society, there were three genders: the first gender, the second gender, as well as the third gender. And this book involves the Sanskrit texts, which had the rules and regulations for the third gender and how they were supposed to live, and the fact that they were a community who were sacred, as well as they had to contribute to the society as much as the first and the second gender. The first gender was, of course, female, male. First and second genders were female and male. So this is all about the homosexuality as well as transgender individuals as well as non-binary individuals, and this is a yantra for them, as you can see. I hope you can see it, and it's a specific yantra for the Vedic yantra, and they were expected to contribute more to the society because they were not only divine, but they had more clarity in their perception than the first and the second gender. So this is all about them, and I'm quite curious. This has been with me for quite some time, but I never really got an opportunity to come around to this book. So I will be picking this up for this particular readathon, and I will give my opinion on what I found in this book. The second book, which I very much wanted to include in this readathon, but I could not because this is written by two cisgender women authors, and that is Dr. C.K. Garyali and Priyadarshini Rajkumar. This is Transgenders in India, and this is an ode to 10 to 12 trans women who were not only survivors, but they have achieved majorly and contributed to the society, and their achievements and establishments are such that they're the first in their fields, and they have created waves of expectations and hopes for the transgender community. I'm not too sure whether I can include this because this does not really qualify, but I will be reading this for the People April Readathon. So in case if anybody's interested, I will definitely be making a book review on them and talking about all the transgender personalities or the trans women personalities who have actually achieved and who have survived as well. So those are the two books that I'll be reading apart from all these books. So I hope you enjoyed this particular video. Do let me know what you thought about the books that I'm planning to read, and if you are reading a few of them as well, because our TBRs might coincide, so we can have a discussion over the Discord, which has been launched by Kevvie for this particular readathon. And with that, I will be wrapping up this video. I'll see you soon next week again with another video. So till then, take care, have a good reading week ahead, and namaste.